Well, yes, hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, hello, it's me, your friend, Jason Louv. And I am here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the birthplace of America and the birthplace of American democracy. This place is steeped in history, it's steeped in vibes, it's steeped in lore. Somehow I've only been here less than 24 hours and I've found myself in a cemetery, straightening American flags on top of the graves of World War II veterans and others. The energy in this city is palpable, it is very unique. People who live here clearly love it. For instance, the place we were staying had a neon sign on the wall that said Philadelphia versus everybody. And that's incredible, it's really good to see. It's a great working class town, the city that works. But me being me, I got to thinking about magic. And now that I'm here, there's a clear point that I want to make. I've made this a few times before in live streams, but I'm going to make it real clear now. We need to bring to life, it already exists, I'm convinced of it, but we need to fully bring to life the American magical current and the American magical system. Now, I actually have relatives who signed the Declaration of Independence. And it's fascinating looking around here and thinking about that time. There were battles fought with the English here, which, by the way, thank you everyone who fought the English here, because look at England now. I'm so glad. I'm so grateful to all of you for leaving England and coming here, because I would be speaking Arabic by now. I'm so grateful to everyone who fought the British here, and everyone who came here to escape the British, because I would not be free without them. And you really feel that here. It's not like an intellectual thing. So I'll just be very, very clear about this. The Western magical tradition died in 1945. It was a casualty of World War II. Everything that had been built up from the remains of the architecture of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was basically taken out by the war with Germany. Now, just like the British Empire ended in World War II, the American Empire began. And as the mantle of empire passed from Britain to America, I will argue, so did the onus of upholding the Western magical tradition and the Western current. It's been a little questionable so far. There was a very strong attempt made in the 1950s with Jack Parsons, who, by the way, if you haven't read Freedom is a Two-Edged Sword by Jack Parsons, please do everyone a favor, most importantly yourself, and read that. It's freely available on the internet, and it expresses the ideals of the Founding Fathers in an incredibly concise and clear and potent way. The problem is, Jackie Boy had a drug problem and blew himself up a little bit too early. He got a little bit too selfish, a little bit too up into his own narrative, and dropped the mantle of OTO leadership. Because of that, I will argue, the American magical current has been stalled out. Well, luckily, your Uncle Jason is here to sort it out. We are, as the Golden Dawn put it, inheritors of a dying world. That's what it is. That's the writing on the wall. But while we're here, we still have a responsibility to hold back the darkness for another day. I'm surrounded by men who gave their lives to do exactly that, to which I can only bow my head and hope to say something that they would like. I'm surrounded by men who died in many wars. I'm surrounded by men who died so that we can all have the freedom to scroll on our phones. When I say American magical system or American magical current, it's not something we need to create. It's something that's already here. America is full of potent symbolism. We have the traditions of Freemasonry, American Freemasonry. We have the religious traditions of all of the people who came over here. Even the Quakers, the Amish, people like this. We have the religious traditions of the people who came over here. And by the way, America was founded by Masons and Rosicrucians. For real, look it up. Who saw in America a blank slate, terra incognita, a place to complete the great work of alchemy of the freedom of the human soul. And that is an ongoing project. It's a project that could fail, quite frankly, unless the people watching this take up the challenge. Magic is a set of tools of the liberation of the human soul. But the human soul cannot be liberated if the body is enslaved, for there's no difference between the body and the soul. And so those who fought for the freedom of the body, of the freedom of the mind to confess its own faith, the freedom of conscience, these are things we take for granted. The freedoms secured here in the 1700s are still not enjoyed by most of the world. They're not. And a lot of the world is simply not interested in that way of living. That's why it must be protected. As far as I can tell, the American model of democracy as enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, is the greatest system for the liberation of the human body and soul ever created by human beings. And it's fragile these days. We still have those documents protecting us. The men who wrote them here are still protecting us hundreds of years later when we're dead, because that document has been picked over so many times and lawyered around, and those rights have been stripped to the point that they're there in name only. But that's a situation that can be reversed. And all that you know what? It's this simple. All that it takes to reverse that situation is for you to care. That's it. All that it takes to save America is for people to care about it again. Because it seems to me, at least, and I'm recording this about 2 weeks out from the New York election, where Zohran Mamdani is a candidate, a communist. It seems to me that people can't wait to give this away. Why? I don't know. Guilt for imperialism, guilt for colonialism, as if every other culture in the world hasn't also done that. Frankly, we did a lot nicer. Certainly a lot nicer than the British. Let's not forget it was the British, not the Germans, who invented concentration camps in Africa. Because of the way people have been educated in many cases, they can't wait to rush to highlight the crimes and the hypocrisies and the darkness of America. Now, all that stuff is real. I've done quite a bit of that myself. The dirty wars, the CIA interventions, all of that, right? However, I have only 6 words for you. Have you seen the other guy? Without the umbrella of safety that was put over our heads by these men in buildings not far from here, like walking distance from here, we would be in the same situation, quite frankly, that they are in the UK right now. No freedom of speech. You can be arrested for social media posts. You cannot critique certain religions or you'll be jailed. Madness. England is probably far less free than it was, frankly, than when we left. So I can only be grateful that my kids and everyone here, myself, people that I care about, don't have to suffer under, Keir Starmer, the EU, all of this stuff, faceless European bureaucrats who don't care about their citizens at all and simply want to extract as much value as they can for the multinational corporations that they serve. We still have a glimmer of freedom here. We still have a glimmer of hope. We have an ember. That ember will go out if it's not fanned. It will. It will. Because the forces trying to put it out are real. They're real. Islam, Marxism, pure post-colonial self-hatred. Well, look, guys, England gave up their empire to be all virtuous and nice, and look at them now. Is America imperialist? Yes, it is. Is America the bully of the world? Yeah, we better hope it keeps that way, it stays that way, because we've lost a lot of wars. It's amazing also to realize that when the founding fathers were writing those documents, they were already dealing with incursions by Islamic pirates who were causing all kinds of problems for the early Americans. Fascinating early history. But I will say this, It's about freedom. It's not the freedom to do whatever you want, by the way. It's the freedom to serve God and not the state. Whatever that means to you. Freedom means the freedom to serve God instead of the state alone. And freedom means that the highest authority over you is not some government official or bureaucrat, as it was in the Soviet Union. Freedom isn't the ability to say whatever you want, wherever you want. It's the ability to speak your mind about the system and not have the cops show up and arrest you in the middle of the night as they do in England. If you're a spiritual practitioner of any type, listen to me now. There's two things you need to be concerned with, two axes of freedom. The vertical axis, the one everyone knows, is one's own spiritual progress, one's own spiritual evolution, of coming from how we're born into this world as barely conscious animals with purely animal instincts until we evolve into thinking and reasoning, and then individually competent individuals, ones who are capable of maintaining their life, and then of course evolving into individuals that care for their community, care for family, community, city, country, the wider world. So that's the vertical axis of spiritual ascent, which you achieve through meditation, prayer, study, all of that. And then there's the horizontal axis, which is the freedom of the body. And these are the same. You can't have one without the other. To secure the freedom of the individual means upholding and protecting the rights of individuals. So I'll put it this way. It is impossible to pursue the great work of the liberation of the human soul in a totalitarian country that will arrest and jail you for doing so. And that's not hyperbole. That's been China. That was Russia under communism. If you want to know what happens to spiritual practitioners when they end up under authoritarian systems that consider people who have something higher than the state as their ultimate authority an issue, look at Tibet. Look at Tibet. Look what communist China did to Tibet when Tibet was defenseless. Anybody who wants to eviscerate the rights that were given to us in this city is an enemy. Anybody, whether foreign or domestic. I want hundreds of more years of America and the American empire. And I want hundreds of more years of young people born into freedom who can ask, what do I really believe, without having it forced on them? Who can truly say, you know what? I can, at the very least, try to become anything here. There's no guarantee it's going to work, but you can try. People who, when maybe their first career fails, their second career fails, their first marriage fails, anything like that, they can start over. Because you can't do that other places. I want an America where people are free to raise their families in peace. And I want an America where people know that their children will have a better future than them, which hasn't been the case for a few generations. I don't want an America that is simply numbers on an asset sheet to be carved up by multinationals, to be traded. For instance, as debt instruments are traded, American debt is traded, to be traded on stock exchanges, to simply, be enticing real estate to sell to China and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all of this. I don't want Qatari Air Force bases in America, as one has recently been created. I want an America that is free, vertically and horizontally, period. The first step in doing that is caring. Care about your freedom, care about the freedom of the people around you, and ask yourself, how can it be upheld? Now, I guarantee, just because of the way things are right now, that you probably have people in your life who are careening down the nihilist void, one SpongeBob quote at a time, as they pump themselves with ketamine, social media, and just simply check out of reality altogether, adopting bizarre ideologies off the internet that have been tailor-made for them. At the very least, you can put in a few words to those people to remind them who they are and what they stand to lose, at the very least. And I'll end with this. It's not just about freedom, which is being taken from you, make no mistake. It's also about meaning, which has been taken from you. In our society right now, you can have any consumer item you want. You can have anything you want, any experience, but you can't have meaning. The people who built this city and this country, they had meaning. They had purpose. They came here and suffered incredible hardship to build this up. It's cool thinking about it like a SimCity game or something like that. You know, I was just told by my Uber driver that Benjamin Franklin constructed the first hospital in America, right? Brother Franklin. These are people that I'm connected to, both by blood and by initiation through Masonry, and by citizenship. These are people that you're connected to if you live in America and enjoy American freedom. So meaning is what is important. If you're looking for a meaning, uphold the freedoms of yourself and the people around you. All right, be strong. May God bless you, and may God bless America.